is the Executive Director of Engineering and Construction Services. And my immediate right is Mr. Rob Hatton. He's the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and he's been working on this project for about a year now. As you know, Mr. Mayor, your committee has 3 separate reports dealing with the Gardiner. Our presentation deals with item EX 8.12, the rehab plan and procurement strategy. We have some 30 some odd slides, and I know that you have a very busy agenda, so we'll try to go through it as quickly as possible. Mr. DeAndre will take you through the background and project details. I'll discuss the procurement options and provide an overview of the financial implications. And then Mr. DeAndre will close by providing an overview of the project governance and next steps. Over to you, Mike.
Okay, thanks very much, Joe, and good morning to the committee and Mr. Mayor. Just as Joe mentioned, I will take you through a bit of background in terms of the strategic rehabilitation plan that was approved by Council last year, just to provide some context in terms of what you have before you as far as the procurement strategy is concerned. So the strategy, the overarching strategic plan, took a look at the entire Gardiner, and that's 18 kilometers extending from 427 over to the DVP. It's important to make a distinction from the standpoint that we have an at-grade section, which is 11 kilometers long, extending from 427 over to about Dufferin Street, and then from there we go elevated right over to the DVP. Also, frame of reference, there are 32 structures that are often forgotten about, and they consist of bridges, retaining walls, and culverts, even at the at-grade section. And then on the elevated, the 7-kilometer stretch includes 335 spans, so consider them to be mini bridges, if you will. The strategic plan took us to 25 years, over the 25 years, basically to identify what the rehabilitation needs that we would foresee based on comprehensive condition assessment data that we had at that time. This is a typical cross-section of one of the elevated, through the elevated section. I just want to highlight the fact that key points of reference. We have a steel-reinforced concrete deck with steel-reinforced parapet wall or concrete barrier wall on the sides, resting on top of steel girders for most of the expressway, and all of that then resting on top of what we call bents, and the bents are formed by having a steel-reinforced concrete pier cap over top of a series of columns. So that's a typical cross-section. So in terms of the condition assessment key findings, again going back to our report last year, for the elevated section, a key point here is the fact that the concrete deck and the barrier walls are in poor condition and nearing the end of their service life. Some of the bents require extensive concrete repair, and the steel girders are in good condition but will need to be recoated within the next 25 years. Other elements of the structure, including T-beams and concrete box girders, are in good to moderate shape, but they only represent about 20% of the structure. So far as the at-grade section is concerned, concrete repair work is required on various bridge structures, pavement resurfacing and reconstruction is required, and various road safety improvements such as median replacements is required. We also incorporated recommendations from recently completed environmental assessments from Kipling Avenue to Park Lawn, the Kipling Avenue-Islington Avenue interchange, and the York Bay Young Ramp. In terms of our plan last year, we proposed 2 options. One is the conventional construction, which is taking place right now on the west deck just by Exhibition Place, versus an accelerated approach. Key advantages here using prefabricated units is the fact that the construction is less weather dependent. You can pretty much run the construction for most of the year, mitigates noise, dust, and vibrations. You construct with the highest quality end product because the product is manufactured in a prefabrication facility, quality controlled environment with the best products. Traffic delays and public inconvenience are minimized because it is an accelerated approach. On the flip side, you're paying an upfront cost premium because of this type of construction. And there are unforeseen risks because this is inherently a new approach that hasn't been utilized through a downtown core as we have with the Gardiner. Schematically, this is what it looks like up in the top right-hand section. You basically saw cut out sections of the deck complete with the girders, and you hoist them, you remove them off of the Gardiner, and you replace them with prefabricated sections, deck as well as girder. The prefabricated sections are manufactured in a prefabrication facility. and they're hoisted on site, delivered to site and hoisted back into place to replace the section that was removed. In terms of a cost analysis, this shows the overall cost impacts. If you take a look at the blue is the upfront capital cost, and you'll note that the the accelerated is about $100 million more than the conventional over the 25-year implementation of the strategic plan. What we've shown in orange is the traffic impact. That was assessed on the assumption that taking 2 lanes out of traffic is going to introduce an additional 30-minute queue or additional queue time for the commuters coming in and out of the downtown core. Factored at a $20 per hour in terms of an assessment of loss of productivity, that translates to an estimate, and so looking at constructing via the accelerated within 12 years versus conventional in 20 years, the traffic impact was assessed to be $3 billion less for the accelerated in comparison to the conventional. So council decision last year was they approved the accelerated construction approach. They asked us to report back with the procurement approach and project delivery schedule, as well as a multi-year cash flow requirements and financing strategy, which is really the basis of today's report. We also directed us to update the strategic rehabilitation plan to account for the Gardiner East EA preferred option and proceed with the conventional construction, as I noted, for this first section, which is the westerly down by the exhibition grounds. In addition to that, just to pick up where I left off with respect to the Gardiner East EA, as you know that study is underway. The limits of the project are from Jarvis over to the DVP, about 2.4 kilometers of the 7-kilometer elevated section, i.e. about 1/3 of the entire length of the elevated section. The EA was begun in 2009, and I need to highlight the fact that given the condition of the deck and the parapet walls, we undertook interim repairs to extend the service life of that section of the expressway to the year 2020, at which point we were expecting to implement whatever the outcome of the environmental assessment. We spent $9 million in interim repairs. It's foreseen that come this fall, we'll probably have another procurement for an additional $5 million. And again, it's just to make sure that that section of the Gardiner Expressway remains safe. In terms of the EA, there are 3 hybrid design alternatives that are being under consideration. It'll be the subject of a report before Public Works and Infrastructure Committee tomorrow. But the bottom line, Council in June of 2015 approved the hybrid option, which basically preserves the existing continuous connection to the DVP, maintains the elevated section as is west of Cherry Street, and the Gardiner East traffic would descend to grade at Cherry Street. As well, what this is going to require is a complete redecking of the existing elevated expressway east of Jarvis Street and the addition of 2 new ramps, and then the realignment of Lakeshore Boulevard from Cherry Street to the Don River. In terms of the revised strategic rehabilitation plan, it incorporates the hybrid option for the elevated section, just to make this now complete as one complete project from 427 over to the DVP. And it's important to note that for the purposes of our procurement analysis, we used the base case hybrid option that was presented to Council in June of 2015. The hybrid design alternatives may incur higher capital costs over the base cost, but procurement option is not expected to be affected by the choice of the hybrid option design. In terms of procurement options from engineering and engineering construction services, most of the construction projects that we let are typically design bid build. That's basically 2 phases to the project: the front end engineering design, followed by procurement for the construction, and basically it's a 2-step process. The 12-year implementation schedule that I highlighted in our strategic rehabilitation plan considered the design bid build approach, the very conventional, into a series or packets of construction projects with that front end engineering design followed by construction. There is another alternative which we used in some projects, and that's design build. And in this particular case, one competitive procurement is used to hire a private sector firm to undertake the engineering design as well as the construction at a fixed fee. This could provide an opportunity for further compression of the schedule. And with that, I'll turn it over to Joe, who will walk you through the alternative financing and procurement options that were considered.
Thank you, Michael. So AFP is another term for public-private partnerships, or P3s. It's extensively used across Ontario on large, complex projects. It is really important, however, to note that AFP is not privatization. The Expressway will always remain in the city's ownership, and we will have full control with respect to all aspects of the roadway. AFP is also not a funding tool. We'll continue to be responsible for funding the costs of the rehab, as well as the ongoing operations and maintenance. AFP simply is a way of combining different stages of infrastructure development costs onto one company that will work as one team to complete the project. AFP is also a way of transferring project risks to the party that is best able to manage those risks. We've looked at two AFP models, design, build, finance, and design, build, finance, operate, maintain, often referred to as DBFOM. The design, build, finance approach places responsibilities for project financing, as well as the engineering, design, and construction with the contractor. The city is not required to make any payments until construction is substantially completed. In this way, the contractor has an incentive to complete the project as expeditiously as possible. This can achieve further schedule compression. The DBFOM, on the other hand, adds to that approach the operations and maintenance component, and that is typically done by way of contract, and there will be ongoing financing costs that will have to be paid over the concession term of the contract, which is typically over a 30-year period. The next slide illustrates the roles and responsibilities of the contractors under different procurement options. As you can see, under the AFP approach, we ensure that there's tight integration of all project delivery work. So we have the designers, the engineers, the constructors, the operations and maintenance groups, as well as, most importantly, the lenders, are all part of one team. And as a result, many, if not most, of the interface challenges and coordination risk that's associated with a traditional DBB approach are eliminated by the use of AFP. The next slide highlights some of the benefits of the design, bid, finance, operate and maintain approach. These include potential for acceleration of the construction, and we've had a number of meetings with industry participants, and there was general consensus that a DBFOM approach may in fact accelerate construction by as much as six additional years. Other benefits would include improved schedule certainty, potential for greater innovation and design, and better long-term warranty post-completion. These benefits principally arise because the contractor's money, in effect, as well as the contractor's lender's money, is at risk. Insofar as the city makes absolutely no payments during the construction, there's a powerful incentive for the contractor, or often referred to as Project Co, to complete the work on time and on budget. Finally, the most important reason for recommending this approach is that it is in fact a requirement for federal funding. P3 Canada has indicated to us and have made it abundantly clear that their funding contribution, which is estimated at $800 million, is a condition, is only going to be forthcoming if we elect to proceed with this approach. Another requirement of P3 Canada is that we conduct a value for money analysis. And this value for money analysis is a decision-making tool that effectively compares different project delivery options. We have now received the value for money analysis that was prepared by IO in consultation with EY and a number of other consulting firms. And that value for money analysis indicates that we are better off in the order of, to the tune of $500 million expressed in present value terms if we proceed with this approach as compared to a traditional approach. Now, I know that the methodology sometimes is viewed as suspect because it relies on a number of factors, including some subjective factors. Nonetheless, IO has indicated that this is the best tool that they have at their disposal today, and this is in fact a requirement of P3 Canada again, as a condition of their funding approval.